Hi, I wanted to make a little video because I've just learned so much off of other handymen who put videos on YouTube and use their creativity to solve some problems. So what I'm trying to do, I've got a pile of logs here. They're a result of I took a tree down last year to open up some sunlight for a solar system I put in at my cottage off the grid. Many years ago I took a bunch of trees down to clear the land, and I have this Alaskan Mill on a chainsaw. It's about a 36-inch blade, and I actually milled up some nice beams and made a couple of buildings out of it. Problem I had was it was really back-breaking labor, and I think that might have been because it was low to the ground. I was always hunched over and the saw was pretty heavy. So what I've done is I've created this morning a little frame, and I thought I was going to go out and actually buy a new mill that costs about $1,600 and uses a chainsaw. It's quite sophisticated. It looks really good. But before doing that, I thought I'd probably invest $20–30 and take one last stab at using the Alaskan again, try and get it up off the ground to a position that's more easy on my old creaky body. So this is the frame I built, and next step is to try firing a log up there. Okay, so I got a log up. I just brute forested up. It actually was pretty easy. I just picked one end up, put it on, then lifted the other one up. So it's sitting nicely in the V cradle there of the 2x4s. And the next thing I want to do, last time I did the milling that I mentioned, what I would do was the first cut was always hard. Once you have the first cut, you got a platform and it works quite easy. But the first one, I used to lay a 2x6 flat across the top and use it as the guide, but it was kind of, it would bend a little bit and you wouldn't necessarily get a clean cut. So what I did, just got this piece of aluminum from the store, drilled a couple of holes. I'm going to screw it in each end, level it, and then I've got some 2x4s here that I'll put down between the two pieces of aluminum to act kind of as a guide for the first cut, and we'll see how that works out. Okay, I put one screw in, and I've got the level on top, and so I'm just going to quickly screw in the, oops, I'm going to do this without filming. Okay, so I did that with two hands, one holding it and one screwing it. So you got two screws in to keep it level, and there's your level. So that's one end. Now time to do the other. Okay, so I've got both my end pieces on now, and I've just laid one of the 2x4s on, and I'll pick up the second long one, and I'll just screw those on, and I'll have basically a nice, almost like a rail that the Alaskan Mill will go down. This log is, the actual frame's 8 feet. This log I'm about to cut is 9 feet, and I just cut these 2x4s to 11 feet so I can take up to 11 foot. The only reason, they were 12-foot boards, the only reason I didn't leave them at 12 is they wouldn't fit in my van. So I had to cut to 11, but most of the logs I've got, at least in this pile, are max 10 feet. So let's, next step coming up. Okay, I got my railing, or my rail, all set, and I'm actually quite happy with the way this thing's turning out so far. It's pretty solid. It's level, and I think I'm going to have a great platform to do the first cut. Once the first cut's done, it's easy because you just use the top of the log for your next cuts, but that first one is the toughest, and this is, we'll see what happens now. Time to saw. Okay, so I've adjusted the saw. What I had to do was take into account both the thickness of the 2x4, but plus the thickness of the cross piece of the aluminum bar that I put in. Looks a little crooked right now. It's not. It's just because I'm not holding the one end of the saw, the weight on it. When I actually take some weight, it's pretty much perfectly straight, and you just got to make sure it clears the heads of the screws as well. In the past, the problem was with the 2x6, I had said originally, or early in this video, when you screwed down from the top, you had to make sure you cleared the screws, and sometimes you didn't know how deep they were. So this is, I think, a much safer system as far as protecting your blade. So now it's time to saw. Well, there's always a problem on these projects, and that can be frustrating, but it's also interesting because you always got to figure out what to do. So I hadn't used this, quite a few years, a couple of reefs on it, wasn't working, wasn't firing, and the spring's gone. So much for that guy. Fortunately, I got a couple of saws, so I just pulled this one out. This is not as heavy duty, but for just experimenting what I'm doing today, it's okay. I think that's a 14-inch blade. Yeah, I think it's 14. Difference is the big one has a ripping or a crosscut saw, so for doing the lengths. The other one has just a regular saw, so it won't cut as good. But again, my objective today is just to see if this initial startup and the framework. So if that works, so I'll get either a new chain for this one or get that one tuned up, or probably do both. Well, I've been cutting. I'm here by myself, so I don't have, I can't film live while I'm doing it, but I wanted to stop and just kind of show it all hooked up. So I'm cutting the top off. It's actually working quite well. Only got another foot or two to go, but this is kind of a setup. And it just, again, it's just cutting that first flat piece. So I'll take another shot once this thing's done, but so far so good. This saw is a little, doesn't have as much power as the other one, plus the blade going the, it's not the proper, chain on it. So with the big saw and the right chain, this thing is going to be A1. Okay, so I'm done to cut. So this is the frame here. That's the piece that came off. But the most important part is this is the cut, and this is perfect, if I do say so myself. And this system is just like perfect. I don't know what else to say. So now I've got I can just set the saw up and just start cutting slabs out of this and make some big beams or posts or wood for furniture. This is actually a beautiful maple. So there you go. Okay, I kept saying that once first cut was done, it was really easy, so I just wanted to do one cut more just to show, and here's what we're doing. Just use top of the previous cut as the base, and away we go. So I did one more cut just to demonstrate, and yeah, it's a nice little plank. It's got some live edge on the side. Just trimmed it off the piece there, and I can do a few more. So I think I don't know. I'm thinking of making a headboard with this somehow for the bed up here, which doesn't have one, but we'll figure out something cool to do with it. That's it for now.